Tropical storms must bow before El Nino. Yo soy El Nino. For those of you who don't habla español, El Nino is Spanish for the Nino.
So, hello. We're going to start right from here. Hello and welcome to HiveScience. We are going to be looking at some fun eco-news today, or maybe some not so fun eco-news, I should say. We're actually going to be looking at something sort of detrimental, but we do have some fun, bizarre science that will follow it up. So there is a fun segment too. First, we have to get through my gloom. All right, so here we go. After months of warning, El Nino has been officially declared. Here's our koala. Koala in the flames. It doesn't have the same ring as koala in the rain. Koala in the flames. That is the saddest picture. Look at that. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that's NOAA, Climate Prediction Center has officially declared an El Nino, with all the likelihood of extreme weather that involves. The event comes as no surprise after months of warning by the World Meteorological Organization and National Climate Institute, but the timing of the announcement reflects the fact that event has started at the early end of the prediction and is looking like a strong one. El Nino, meaning the boy child, gets its name from the fact that one of its defining features, warm water off the west coast of South America, can be most intense around Christmas. This year, however, water off Peru are already far above normal in June. That's bad news for the fishing industry there, and the vast stocks of anchovies that rely on cold water upwellings can be expected to crash. Following the recognition that the effects are much more widespread, El Ninos are now measured using other factors, particularly the air pressure gradient between the East and West Pacific. So I do want to say, if the anchovies go extinct, are we actually living in the Futurama timeline? Are Zoidberg's people going to show up and wipe them out now that they're already on the verge of extinction? Is this going to happen?
My stench. More.
There aren't any more, and there never will be.
More. More. More.
Some parts of the world are already experiencing typical El Nino conditions, but the NOAA thinks the effects for Americans will be delayed. El Nino's influences on the U.S. is weak during the summer and more pronounced more pronounced starting in the late fall through spring. The statement reads, by winter, there is an 84% chance of greater than a moderate strength El Nino and a 56% chance of a strong El Nino developing. In North America, the most notable El Ninos features are increased rain and snow in Southern California and along the Gulf Coast, and drier than usual conditions in the Pacific Northwest and parts of the Midwest. The statement notes these patterns are statistically likely to happen in an El Nino year, but there are exceptions where during El Nino, some places don't get the usual outcome. The southwestern mega drought means California is one place that often welcomes El Nino, although after this winter's epic snow and floods, things might look a little different. For most other parts of the world, however, El Ninos are something to be feared. The immense Australian bushfire of 2019 and 2020 are an extreme example of what El Nino-driven low rainfall can do to that continent. And after 3 years of wet weather, the eastern part of the country has a lot of growth to burn. El Nino also usually brings droughts to South Central Africa, which could mean big trouble for that region, whose already failing electricity grid relies heavily on hydropower. Conditions are also likely to be dry in Southeast Asia, which could threaten Indonesia's rainforest. The southern fringe of the Sahara, home to some of the most vulnerable people on Earth, can also expect reduced rainfall. Peru and Ecuador will be at risk for increased risk for flooding. Although El Niños increase the chances of good crops in a few places, globally the overall effects is usually bad for food production, with Ukraine's wheat yield expected to be affected by the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam, and the war making it difficult to export what does get grown. There's a high risk of rising food prices causing widespread famine. A recent study attributes $4.1 and $4.7 trillion in loss to global income to two big previous El Nino events. Current circumstances could easily make this one more expensive still. At least at this time, some countries are prepared, such as Peru, which put aside more than $1 billion to deal with the consequences. Although some parts of the planet cool during El Niños, the global average temperature rises during and immediately after them. Combined with record-breaking concentration of greenhouse gases, global annual temperature records are almost certain to be broken. Definitions of El Nino vary slightly between meteorological organizations. So far, the threshold required by some, such as the Australia Bureau of Meteorology, have yet to be crossed. But barring a surprising reversal, they will be soon. So there's your doom and gloom for you. There's some El Nino kicking off, and as you can see, look at this, how warm it is over here in the look, watch right here, along here. Watch how hot it gets right there. Look, whoa, that's off the Galapagos too. So the cool waters that usually fill in there are not. This doesn't usually happen until, like they said, until December, till around Christmas time, and now it's happening in June. Weird and wild stuff going on. All right, let me read some comments on this and see if we got anything to share. So even though we emerge from an inherently indifferent, amoral, and chaotic universe, what we think of as order is largely an illusion. Sure. Thank you so much for sticking with me through our my poor reading of this El Nino update, and hopefully we are prepared for it, because El Nino can be a bitch. All right, so please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koala, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.